In the world of Dragon Ball, there are many plot holes and inconsistencies buried deep within the story, just waiting to be found. Join us as we work together to uncover each and every last one of them, only on Dragon Ball, Plot Holes and Inconsistencies. Hey guys, it's Mike here, and welcome to another edition of Dragon Ball Plot Holes and Inconsistencies, where we look at the plot holes and inconsistencies in the Dragon Ball Z anime and manga. Today I'm going to be talking about a topic which I don't believe anyone else has ever talked about in a video like this before, and that is, how did Future Trunks get so strong? Now, as you know, Future Trunks is the alternate timeline version of Trunks, the son of Bulma and Vegeta. Being a Saiyan and trained by Future Gohan under intense circumstances, Trunks was able to become a Super Saiyan and become very powerful, to the point where Trunks was able to effortlessly kill both Frieza and King Cold, his father, who were two of the most powerful beings in the universe. But this brings up the question, just how did Trunks become so powerful? Now, as we know, Trunks was trained by Future Gohan, who was also a Super Saiyan during the point of time in which the androids were ravaging the world. And as we could see, according to the manga, during this period of time, Trunks attained Super Saiyan, the legendary transformation which increases your power 50-fold from your base. But as we look at Trunks' story in the manga, we see something very interesting. During the period of time in which Trunks is trained with Gohan, Trunks is a young adolescent teenager, and approximately 13 years old in age. Now, as we can see, when Trunks is trained with Gohan, Trunks is a Super Saiyan, however, Gohan is in his base form. On top of this, from what we could see, it's clear that Trunks is actually at a disadvantage and probably weaker than Gohan in his base form in this fight, as Trunks is out of breath panting, whereas Gohan seems to be perfectly fine. Now, myself and QAAMAN from QAAMAN's Land talked in a video a little while back in which we were trying to determine just how strong young future teen Trunks was. And in that video, we brought up a number of points. For example, that Gohan implied that he was actually weaker than Goku was when Goku died in that timeline, and Goku obviously wasn't training as hard as he possibly could, or to the degree that he would have if he knew that the androids were coming to attack the Earth in 3 years. So even if we say at this point that Future Gohan's power level was equal to Goku's when he was on Namek in 3 million, even if Trunks were equal to Gohan in his base as a Super Saiyan, this would mean that Trunks' base form would only be 60,000. Which is only a little bit higher than a Ginyu Force member. And as we know, right after they were finished training, Gohan was killed by the androids, which essentially left Trunks all alone without anyone to train with. So this begs the question of just how did Future Trunks get so strong? And perhaps we could suggest that Bulma helped Trunks to get stronger by building him a gravity chamber or some other kind of training method. But as Bulma also said in the manga, Capsule Corp was attacked by the androids, so it made it impossible for her to actually do this. And this is why it took so long for her to scrap together the pieces to create a time machine. And then we could suggest that perhaps the reason is that Trunks trained in the hyperbolic time chamber. And naturally, the hyperbolic time chamber would be the perfect place for Trunks to get very strong in a short period of time. But once again, Trunks didn't even know what the hyperbolic time chamber was when Goku told him about it. And since we hear that the Sensu beans died out, it's very possible that the androids not only destroyed Korin's tower where they're grown, but also the lookout as well. Why else would no one ever tell Trunks about the hyperbolic time chamber until that point? So this again leaves us to wonder, how did Trunks get so much stronger during that period of time without the gravity chamber or the hyperbolic time chamber? After all, if we assume that Future Trunks was on the same level as Goku on Namek, he would have to get 50 times stronger in his base alone during those 4 years between the time that Gohan died and the point in which he went back in time. And if we assume that Future Gohan is at that level, Trunks must be too, since Bulma states that Trunks is equal in strength to Gohan during the period of time before he goes back in time. So where did such a substantial power-up come from? In the end, we're never given any sort of explanation whatsoever as to how Trunks actually got this strong, other than they seem to imply that he trained on his own, which really doesn't make any sense to yield such a significant power increase. At least Vegeta trained inside of a gravity chamber during his lead up to the androids coming, but but if there was a gravity chamber in the History of Trunks timeline, then why weren't Gohan and Trunks training in there instead of in the wilderness? This entire thing is another inconsistency created by the History of Trunks the Story manga chapter written by Akira Toriyama. Whereas everything that happens in the main timeline makes sense as long as Trunks is alluding to all this stuff happening in the past, once we actually see it in this manga chapter, everything starts to fall apart. As once we actually compare and contrast the Trunks' Story manga chapter with everything that we see from future Trunks and hear from him in the main timeline, a large number of inconsistencies start to appear. And this example of how Trunks seems to get tens of times stronger out of nowhere is only one of those examples. So what exactly was going on behind the scenes that caused all of this to go about? Well, basically, as I've mentioned before in previous editions, Akira Toriyama wrote this chapter a while after he came up with all of the backstories and wrote all of the stuff with future Trunks in the manga, as the Trunks the Story manga came out during the Cell Games arc. So just as I said before, it seems likely that Akira Toriyama didn't actually go back and check all this stuff for consistency before he actually wrote down everything that he wrote down, turning it into this manga chapter, and all of this makes sense when it comes to Toriyama considering the fact that he's very forgetful and almost never goes back and reads his own work. And this is essentially the cause of almost every single plot hole and inconsistency which we encounter in the series. So unless Toriyama comes up with another example out of nowhere sometime in the near future, this is likely going to remain an inconsistency for a long time to come. Well, my name is Mike, and this has been another edition of Dragon Ball Plot Holes and Inconsistencies. Let me know your own thoughts down below. Do you like this video, or did you not? Also, did you think of any other plot holes which I might not have mentioned in this series thus far? Let me know down below so I can make a video about them in the future. Also, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and as I always say, stick around, because there's a lot more to come in the future.
You better subscribe.